Boys, welcome to the pod.
Hey, bro.
Matt
It's a
and
pleasure to
Mark.
be here. Thanks for having me again.
Welcome. This is round 2 for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Good to be back.
Yeah. Tell us,
This time as well.
tell everyone about who you guys are, what you do. Matt, if you want to take it away, and we'll
Sure.
go from there.
Yeah. Well, I'm Mark's business partner. Mark's been on the potty before, as you just said, obviously. But yeah, we run a company called Coaches Collective. We help PTs grow their online business to like a month and beyond, of course. And yeah, we've been working together for probably a couple of years now. My background's in the marketing side of things, so I've had a long in context being 28, a 10-year career almost now in online marketing and being in that world. So that's been fun.
Mhm.
And yeah, Mark and I met when I was head copywriter at a agency, and yeah, we did some really cool shit together then. And yeah, so just so happened the cards like fell in a way that we ended up coming back together and doing some cool shit, even more cool shit together, which has been fun.
Excellent.
Probably one of the guys, Reese, that when we were doing work in the past in previous businesses, we've had so many experiences. I've had probably 6 different agencies I work with in my time.
Mhm.
I think you progressively go from like, I don't know, when you start out, you don't know what you're getting.
Yeah.
Right. I remember it was like ClickFunnels back in the day.
Yeah.
And people ask me about fucking font and color, and I'm like, I don't fucking care. Just get me
Yeah.
leads, you
Yeah.
know? And then it progressed. I think my second, before we worked with a company, it was called Your Social Voice at the time that Matt was working for. Kim Barrett, I don't know if you know him, but he's incredible, like very smart human. And what I loved about that was they had a big team.
Mhm.
And I was lucky that I think I got Matt straight off the bat. And what would happen is sometimes
You were
they
actually the first campaign that I ever worked on when they hired me.
really,
Yeah.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, I noticed the difference between not working with Matt and then when I got some other guy.
Yep.
I'm like, this is shit. Like they don't get what we're trying to talk about. And the thing I loved about Matt was he like, I don't know, you just like when you're writing things, if you're doing copy and you have a crack and you just like, and you think it's some masterpiece and you give it to Matt and it's like, that's what I meant to say.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The power of good copy does a lot.
Communication. Yeah. It's literally communication in the written form. And it's like, it's I think probably one of the biggest, most underestimated skill sets that people don't know about even because like, you know, they see marketing, they see content, they see social media, and that's the thing, that's the medium that they, you know, put all their attention and energy into. But the thing that underpins that is copywriting, is communication.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, I was very fortunate, you know, being in that job. Like it taught me a lot, and it gave me a lot of experience in just getting in the reps. Right. Like we had Mark was one of like 30 clients that we worked with for our time, and we did some cool shit. We ended up doing a webinar funnel for them that ended up generating like 5 or something.
More went through COVID, just ran constantly, but he nailed an online webinar, which is
Yeah, wicked.
So
rinse and repeat.
It's funny when like people look at the word ads, and ads just get like such a, especially in fitness, such a bad rap of like, oh, my ad, or I went to an agency that was shit, my ads didn't work. It's like, well, maybe the ad did exactly what it was supposed to. Your ad just sucked. Like,
Or the back end sucked.
Yeah, like, and it's
There's another part that people don't even like think about much at all.
Yeah, and it's a whole Frankenstein process of like change the creative, change the headline, change the copy, change the landing page, change the landing page copy, and it's this infinite cycle that
It's an experiment. It's a science experiment, and
Yeah.
people don't treat it like that.
Yeah.
Like they need to realize there's dependent and independent variables. There's a hypothesis you need to test. There's all the same shit that you need as a science experiment, but people treat it like this like magic pill that it's instantly going to work, or it's like cool, like if we get the right thing, or like it's not how it works. Like
Yeah.
yeah,
I
it's
always
really
say
funny.
that like the ad did exactly what it was designed to do. You just designed it poorly.
Yes.
Like if you've got bad leads, it's not the ad's fault. It's whoever designed your ad and the whole campaign itself and the back end and everything throughput. And it's something you guys look at quite a lot, right? It's like with like just the low scale marketing for business owners that are just dipping their toe in of knowing what to do, how to do it. You know, people that aren't budgeting out, you know, $5,000, $6,000 a day, but they're people that are coming in just, what do they need to spend? What do we need to do to get leads? And that's kind of your bread and butter. Yeah.
In a way, like we've when I was working at the agency, and like I've helped businesses that were spending 60 grand a month on ads.
Yep.
And Mark's previous business, you guys were probably spending close to 10 or 20 or something a month.
Yeah, I'd say between 5 and 10.
Okay.
Yeah.
So going from like that high level to then like it's actually been a big skill jump when I started working with Coaches Collective to go from like taking that high level proficiency of like working with tens of thousands of dollars of ad spend every single month to like, how do we get somebody like off the ground?
Yeah.
And then how do you then take them from that to then the next level of scale? And so figuring out and reverse engineering it so that it's like, it's done in a way that has longevity and also done in a way that's sustainable starting out has definitely been a big learning curve for sure.
Yeah.
And it's been a lot of fun, like figuring that out, because there's, you know, paid ads is one realm of marketing, but there's like taking the knowledge and the things that I learned from that around communication, understanding the conversation that goes on in the market's brain, and like knowing how to harness the desire that already exists, and like taking all of that and then applying it to things like organic marketing and all of those sorts of email marketing and like all those different realms of it has been a lot of fun. So yeah, we've got people that have scaled up to like, you know, well beyond 10K a month and that sort of thing. But we've also, you know, majority of the people in the PT industry are starting out at around $1,000 to $2,000 a week. So it's like, that's just by nature of the fact that that's where majority of people in the market are at. That's kind of where we seek to serve, I guess, in a way.
When I make an assumption here just based on that portion of the market.
Yeah.
Do a lot of these people come to you thinking that ads are the answer before they're ready, like they want to run before they walk kind of deal?
There's been a few for sure, because like, you know, naturally, like we put a lot of time and effort into our advertising, and we know how to treat it with respect and do it to be done. So we've had people that have seen our ads and they've been like, oh, your ads are amazing, I want to learn how to do that, but they don't realize that it's taking close to 10 years skill set.
Yes.
So yeah, we've definitely had a few people, and then, you know,
probably like, let's be honest, the guys that are further along, and said, if you're the guys that are capped, you know, and you say like, you remember, if you remember, because it's been a while for you probably, but you know, when you're at the between 3 and 5K per week mark, you definitely hitting a ceiling of how many clients before it's like you need a team, you need to be outsourcing parts of delivery, etc.
Yeah.
And usually, you know, we focus on buying them back their time. So we definitely have people that are probably, you know, north of $1,500 a week, and then they're kind of starting, but they've been an in-person coach. So they're learning online. They don't do online well.
Yep.
And then you've got the guys at the other end that they really do need time back before they start to look at the online, because they're building a whole nother business, as you know. It's another business on top.
Yeah.
So once we find them the time, and again, we've kind of leveraged that, and it's so very much about coaching. Once we get that right, we do that transition. It makes sense. And definitely the guys that come in at 3.5K plus per week, straight away, they think ads is going to be the thing.
Yeah.
But it's also the thing that straight away, very quickly, when you just look under the hood, it's like, you know, when you're ready.
Yeah.
There's no system here. There is.
You break this up. You'll break the system before you build it.
Yep.
But yeah, we just come off the retreat that we ran a couple of weeks ago on the Gold Coast, and one of the big things that was coming up is like we ran a training on like Path to Freedom is what it was called, and it was like, dude, you'd froth this. Walking them through, like, we use cell multiplication as the analogy, but the idea is like when you have healthy cell culture, what will multiply is order, is that healthy cell culture. But when the cell becomes damaged and it doesn't have the mechanism to, you know, kill itself off, it becomes cancer and it becomes chaos. And so whatever exists,
use the exact word. Yep.
Yeah, whatever exists in the business to start with, if you start adding complexity and adding scale, all that scales is what's already there. So the same thing with ads, same thing with bringing on people, same thing with like lead gen and all of it. Like whatever's already there, if there's chaos, the chaos will multiply. If there's order, the order will multiply.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing applies to marketing for sure.
What are some of the steps that you take your clients and the business owners through to move them away from chaos towards order?
I think the big thing is just understanding the pathway and the journey that they need to create for people. For a lot of people, it's like, you know, marketing is creating content, creating just putting stuff out there, put stuff out there, throw shit at the wall and see what sticks, which is chaos, right? Understanding that the real marketing comes down to being able to create relationships with people, create trust, right? You need two things to essentially take somebody from not knowing you to becoming a client. You need attention first and their trust. So how you build that is just by forming relationships with people. A lot of times how I've found that people approach marketing is like, just throw a bunch of shit at the wall and see what sticks. And challenge, like sometimes it can work. Sometimes you just experiment with enough things and it can just work. But I think the challenge is that that's a bit of a hope strategy. You're not actually doing something by design that wins by design. And so understanding that the job of marketing is not to just get leads as quickly as possible. It's to form relationships with people. It's to drive traffic to an ecosystem of media, of media in general, whether that's content or emails or long form or short form or whatever. driving traffic to that ecosystem and using that ecosystem to form relationships with scale. And then from there, giving them invitations, offers to continue learning, continue that progression of that journey. And so understanding what that journey is, and then knowing what order to kind of build the individual components out in and how they all work together is I guess the process that we take to take somebody from like approaching it with high level of chaos to creating order around that, so that they have a clear process and progression, get from like almost doing nothing to having a system that now repeatably people come in, they become nurtured, they have relationships formed with them, and then you turn them into clients.
Is that system the same for everyone, do you think?
I think high level, definitely. There's obviously different expressions of that for PTs, for other business owners, service business owners. Like a majority of the clients that I worked with at the agency were like service business owners, info products, selling, coaching or some sort of service. Yeah, mortgage brokers that absolutely crushed it. Like they were doing so well. But just understanding that it's like, the thing is this is a challenge with the agency, is like we were so heavily focused on the front end stuff and not on that ecosystem. And it was again, like in an agency model, your whole job is essentially to please the client, to make sure that the client sticks around. And a lot of the times that can be done in sacrifice. Sorry, the actual results can be sacrificed to achieve that function of keeping clients and making them happy. And so ultimately, like we had a high focus on like the front end lead generation, but then on the back end there was so much money left on the table, because not like just by not understanding the fact that our job here is, yes, we're trying to get leads, trying to start conversation, start relationships with people, but we want to actually nurture that relationship. I don't know the exact stats, but they say anywhere between 2 and 3% of people are ready to buy immediately, but the other 47%, like you got 50% never buy, and then the other 47% who
they need a bit of work.
Yeah, they're not doing anything.
Yep.
Like all of your marketing is focused on that 2 to 3%. And so that's been a big like growth curve for us this year, is like, relearning that, tofu, mofu, bofu, all of that sort of stuff, like relearning a whole heap of stuff and like integrating it with a much deeper level of understanding from experience and that sort of stuff. So yeah, it's been fun, yeah, for sure.
This is, being in business this long, it's one of those, I think for us, and even starting just like most PTs, like if you're going to go online, and I know you've pretty much built your business off organic, right? Like you got to meet someone where they're at with what makes sense. I totally agree. Like we want to teach guys fundamental things, but I think the PT mindset of just fixing the front end thing and being a client, for example, of an agency, I'm going, oh, we need more leads. We need more leads. No, you need to get more people on fucking calls and make more sales, right? And again, there's so,
you need to do a better job with the leads you already have.
Well, 100%. And it becomes honestly a sales issue. And then we need more ability to get more people on phone calls or book or better process. And that's why there's so many layers to this conversation. I love where this is going to go. I just think for PTs, we don't want them short-sighted. And even if I come back to what we were talking about around the future casting stuff, because I'm not sure if you remember, I was a financial advisor before I was a PT.
Yep. And
I was asking my wife, who is a financial advisor, to, her average client's got 5 mil invested in super. So she's got, family's worth 150 mil.
Yep.
And yet we're having a conversation the other week around her family, and they were talking about, retiring next year. And I know this is a long way for fucking probably some PT that's watching this is 25 or something, right? It's not that far though, trust me.
No, it's not.
I met you when you were a young little, 20?
I would have been 19.
19-year-old whippersnapper, and now you're how old? 30?
30.
Yeah, it goes fucking quick, right? And for me at 41, maybe another 15 or 20 years of like, and again, who knows, I love work. I'll work a long time, but at the same time, the option to not work.
It's the option of freedom.
Yeah.
Choice, yeah.
And I think this is what we all want. And so we did this whole exercise around, right, well, let's fucking blow this up. How, like, if you want to retire, what's the number? And I asked Laura, she's like, oh, it's in my software. I'm like, no, but how do we calculate it? We were going to teach these guys, how will we calculate it?
Yeah.
And so we worked it out. We went through this whole process of their life, the things that they would want to have, etc. Your bucket list, the whole thing, but then to the dollar figure.
Yep.
Also based on compound interest, based on hitting a certain income figure, what it would take, how many clients, etc. It was like, I've always wanted to do it, and like it was fun. It was a fun process, right? And some of these guys at retreat were like, they got big goals. Like, and I think this is what we want. We want guys with big goals. And you and I know that we talk about getting 50 coaches to 10K per week. That's just the start.
Yeah.
That's when you've got the start of a business. And now we're building team. You're stepping out of delivery. There's a whole lot of, that's a business. A business serves you, like it literally has people, has process. And that's what we're building towards.
Yep.
So in answer to your question before, like, where do we start? We've got to give the whole approach, but we've got to take in big picture and then come back to that, right? But then
understand why are you even fucking running a business?
Yeah.
Because a lot of people are doing it from like, they have some level of scarcity in their life that they want to overcome.
Yeah.
But as soon as they solve that problem, what happens? It's like the athlete that retires after, at 30 after a long career in a sport. And then they're like, what the fuck do I do with myself now?
I was talking to a good friend about this morning actually, that he operates out of a lot of his decisions in life and in work operate from a position of fear and anger. And he's spoken to his psychologist about this, and the conversation they had, he kind of relayed back to me, is that he loves operating on fear. It's what drives him. That anger is what drives him. And it's like, you can burn this toxic fuel however you want to burn it. However, and this is where he said, I never thought about it this way. You can use it as the fuel to drive the car. But what happens when you're done driving? Like, what happens when you've reached that point of, I want to retire, I want to move, I want to settle, I want to, whatever it might be. And now you're just left being an angry man. So if you're driving nowhere and you just got all this anger and all this aggression, all this tenacity, and there's nothing to put it in, you're just a fucking dog. Like, you just turn into an asshole.
You do dumb shit.
Yep.
And you get on.
Yep.
The analogy I had around that, and it always stuck with me, was, you think of it, it's like, and again, you see it, a lot of PTs, they will burn everything down, or they will do really well and then they'll take their foot off the gas and then they come back to pain. It's that, like, the further you get away from the flame, like that guy, then you start to go, this is weird.
Yeah.
I'm fucking doing well. Like, I'm, and again, that only lasts so long until you go, you burn out at that level, right? Or
you discover a new level.
Uncomfortable. So there needs to be in fact, a guy I used to talk with, is an Olympic sports psych, wrote a book on the whole fear of failure versus motivated to succeed. Gavin Freeman, amazing guy, great book. But you have to learn how to flip that energy, because it serves you in the survival phase. Yeah. But dude, the whole point is to ascend the fucking Maslow's hierarchy.
Yep.
That's the whole, is it not? Like, where you're at right now, we're talking about your lifestyle and all these things. That wasn't your drive in the early days.
No, not at all.
You probably had to go through the ego and the fucking, I need to prove myself, and all of the bullshit.
I put myself in those positions. I would willingly put myself into corners that I knew would cause stress, that would cause problems. I would willingly and consciously make decisions in the business that I know would kind of create some problems.
Seeking discomfort.
Yeah. And because it's the whole concept of what built me won't grow me, but I hadn't learned that lesson yet.
Yeah.
And I would put myself into the corner all the time, like, well, this is what built me. It was stress. This is what built me. This is what allowed me to grow. And eventually it's like, fuck, sometimes the stress starts to take a real toll on your life. And you're like, I can't keep doing this anymore. It's
like program design. It's like, if you continue putting stress in, there's no deloads, like, end up fucking breaking your body.
Yep, absolutely.
So,
do you think that, like, where people are now, like, obviously you're taking people through this transformative process in their business. Do you feel like that process is a little bit harder at this time of year?
I think after retreat, this is the thing. It's like, motivation is very fleeting, right? And it can shift and change with so many different conditions. And a lot of the time, yes, it is harder to get motivated to do a lot of things at this time of year, especially because you kind of like, there's the perception that you've gone through the entire year, you've worked your fucking ass off, you deserve a little bit of time off, or the perception of like, I'm starting to burn out now and kind of like, okay, I need to fucking chill. The challenge,
what's the story they're running? Because there's a bunch of,
like,
there's a lot of different ones
reality,
at the moment.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think like the cool thing that we noticed after running this retreat, it's like, it was only a couple of weeks ago, so like end of November, coming away from it, all of the guys that were there are just fucking lit up. They're like on it, and they're like posting so much more. Their content is so much better quality. Like they're showing up with this level of energy that just is awesome. And I think that the answer to your question is kind of like, I guess it depends what environment they're in and what their perception is of their current reality.
Let's talk like online coaches, personal trainers at the moment. Like,
it depends what their environment is, right? Because like if they're just kind of doing things on their own, or they're just surrounded by the general normal shit that's kind of going around at this time of year, then the input equals the output, right? Whereas if they're surrounded by a community of people that are on the same mission, that have the same values, and they're actually able to spend time with those people like we did at the retreat. This is where the shift kind of like happened, is that everybody's in that same environment in this fucking beautiful house on the Gold Coast canals and shit. And it's like they're all sharing this experience, and the collective energy lifts everybody up. Rising tides lift all ships, right? And they come away from it tired but like full, you know, and they're like fucking ready to go. So I think the answer to that question is really, it depends on how often they put themselves in environments like that feed their growth.
Even in our world too, though, Matt, like there's the ones that have come, and as you know, like we run coaching, so you say this a lot, and again, we're not here. A lot of people will go through and we talked about consuming courses. We're fucking, I tell you, man, we're the opposite of doing that. We don't, it's not a course. It's not what we do. It's fucking coaching you. And we'll have real chats with people because that's what we do. We don't want the filter. You want the help. We're here to coach you. It's not just about
information. Right? It's about integrating and applying the information.
Totally. And executing and telling you when, you know, we see things being off, right? And we'll just, because again, you might be in our world for, you know, 1, 3, 5 years, who knows, plus, right? Even in our world, and you see this a lot, like people that showed up have just gone back and they've just executed in their life, and they're around, you know, other guys that are in a gym that are doing fuck all. And like I've reached out, a couple of guys like, oh, I just saw your offer. He goes, dude, I'd sent it to a couple of guys in my gym, but do you know what? They're fuckwits. They don't do anything because that's how they think. And yet, and there's guys in our, for example, in our coaching, and probably, you know, 20% of the guys showed up to retreat, maybe a little bit less. They've gone and they've done shit. And the other guys, oh, I'm not sure, this time of year, there's this. And the scarcity mindset and the stuff kicks in. It's the very fucking thing that at this time of year, whatever the story is, dude, like it'll be fucking useless or useful in terms of whatever the story is.
It's true at any time, right?
It's out of interest for you, dude. I know you're interviewing us, but like, what's your mindset going into the back end of this little 2 or 3 weeks?
Everyone else has no money to spend, so I'll spend more. So I've just I've for the first time ever turned ads on.
Yep.
Because no one else has the budget to do it.
Expand when everybody constricts, right?
Correct.
Plus you're going on holiday, so you just want something a little bit more automated, a little bit more set and forget.
Yeah. So, and just whether it be for mentoring business or the coaching business as a whole, I'm very, call it lucky, call it by design, whatever it might be. The whole business for Lionstone, the fitness coaching business, is run with fixed expenses. So all my staff, fixed expense, everything's just as is. So anything we take in over this period of time is profit. So provided we aren't, like, so to speak, robbing Peter to pay Paul, and we're not getting people that were already going to pay us our full rate, as long as we're not attracting them in any of our marketing efforts, we're sweet. So we did a full back end overhaul of our like email copywriting 2-3 days ago. And we've essentially ran like our first ever sale, but we've overinflated price first, pulled price down through the sale, and it's all only through back-end marketing. It's not public at all. And it's only through our email and text integrations. And that only ever goes to people that have said no on sales calls before or downloaded an asset and never booked a call. So they're all the people that are segmented in our CRM that know who we are, trust us to a degree, know what our price was. And so this is a legitimate offer to them. Off 2-3 emails while everyone else is freaking out like can't take clients. We took 32 calls in the space of 2 to 3 days on like 1 or 2 emails. So like to Matt's point is, you know, you expand when everyone else is constricting. And I think that this time of year, everyone slows down. Like our content production has ramped up. Our like conversations with ex-clients has ramped up. All of our referral strategy, everything is just pushed.
You've got time. Usually people I'm saying the average PT out there, you've got more time.
Generally, all of like probably 25%, if we're talking in-person personal trainers, 25% of their clients have gone on holidays, and they've sat there and gone, I'll just wait till January. Okay. It'll be poor in January.
It'll be noisy.
Yep. Big time.
I think that's the mindset that we're going to at this stage is like, look, again, everyone's different. Some people love to work. I don't know. Best of luck to you. Like, I love it. I love it equally. You know, it's been a big year for us. And we'll probably go on, you know, have skeleton staff, 2 or 3 weeks of light weeks. You're saying, what are you doing? You know, like has been a big year. Equally, I love it. You know, I got kids. I want to hang out with them. I don't want to have to stress. Like you, mate, we'll be doing the same thing. And again, for these guys that watch this back, you want to model that behavior. Like, how do you win? Start to think about it. If you want to chill out, like load. And again, I know you're big on preparing. I know you do a lot of content, prep, get everything out ahead, get it done, get it edited. If you want to chill the fuck out, chill the fuck out.
Yeah. I think it's also like we look at just even in fitness, like there are so many ways that you can get all your current clients that already do pay you, that it's still around to pay more. And it's like people hear that and they go, that sounds so foreign. But in a time where they need more accountability because there's so much fat food around and there's so many social occasions and there are so many excuses to not go to the gym, it is a perfect value exchange where it's like, cool, well, I know you're struggling. Why don't you pay me more and you won't struggle anymore? Like that 25% of time that you've just lost through people going on holiday, pausing, social events, whatever it might be, get all the other people to cover that 25%, if not more.
That's innovation. Right.
Yep.
And we had a conversation a couple of weeks ago about this. Like, I saw a few posts online of like people about, the online fitness space is so saturated, it's so competitive, it's blah, blah, blah.
It's competitive at the bottom.
Yeah, it is.
I can tell you, man.
Like one of the things that I learned early on from one of my mentors, Ian Stanley, who now, by the way, is like phenomenal comedian. Highly recommend getting on YouTube and checking out his comedy special. It's fucking hilarious. One of the things that I learned from him was that there's no such thing as saturated markets, only bored markets.
Yep.
And so I think that a lot of people, they fall into this like scarcity thing of like, oh, it's competitive. That means that, there's not as much to go around and I got to go for crumbs and blah, blah, blah. But it's like, no, in reality, like if you learn how to innovate and you learn how to create solutions in the marketplace and you get clear on, like we always say, what's the energy that you want to show up with? Because the energy that you bring to the market or bring to the world is what's going to be reflected back to you.
Probably not immedially though. It takes 6 months.
Exactly. Like there's a long tail effect of that, right?
But also it doesn't matter.
No.
Because that's the fucking energy you want to show up with.
Yes.
So you want to be putting
do the work.
Yeah. You do it without the attachment to the outcome of receiving something.
Yep.
But yeah, like I feel like if people really just focus on innovating and learning how to bring value to the marketplace, their life is going to be so much easier because these posts are talking about competitive and saturated and blah blah blah, but it's like that's only, like you said, for the people that are at the bottom who don't know how to innovate, who don't know how to create and bring true value to the marketplace. Because the people who bring real value to the marketplace, they will never fucking starve.
Oh.
There will always be a way for them to thrive and as long as they continue to bring real value to the marketplace. And so the same thing is like, I love this because like organic marketing and social media is kind of like a micro kind of market of that macro.
Yep.
And it's like, if your content's getting no fucking views and you're getting no attention and no engagement, then it's an indication that you're not bringing any real value to the marketplace. Which means you need to acquire skills and get fucking better at the thing, which comes from just doing the reps and like refining it over time, getting help as well. Like nobody who's world class in anything did it alone.
No. The whole point of getting your message out there, like if it's shit, it's immediate feedback.
Yeah.
Fucking get better.
Yeah.
Right.
And again, a science experiment, be detached from it. Don't let your emotions fucking come into it. There's variables that are at play here. There's a hypothesis that you're trying to test. What variables do you need to swap out and, toy with to try and get the outcome that proves your hypothesis?
I think people often also look at the wrong data to prove the hypothesis too. Like they'll get so caught up, especially this time of year when everything is so scarce. They'll pay attention a lot to vanity metrics of like how many views, saves, sends, etc. did I get? And sure, maybe they still have no leads or no money in the bank. But if you were to shift where you look at where the traffic is, so let's say you have a pixel, how much traffic is going through your pixel on one page, how many people are viewing and showing up to your inquiry form. Like if you're getting 200-300 views on a video and that's comparatively low to your normal, but yet you're still getting 100 views a week on your inquiry form, the content's not the problem, the form's the problem. Maybe you need to just fix the fucking where the traffic's going. And that's where, like, I think a lot of the times, especially, as I said, scarce times, whether it be Christmas, whether it just be lots of cancellations, people look straight to the things that make them feel good. It's the views, the likes, and so on.
Yeah.
They may not be the things that actually pay you.
Yeah, we said this a number of times at retreat, actually, is like they start to sacrifice what they want most for what they want.
Yeah. Yeah.
So interesting. I'm actually really curious, Reese. Like we were talking a little bit about like retirement and that sort of stuff. And Mark mentioned future casting before. It's basically the idea of like forecasting your future and understanding reverse engineering things from back there. And one of the reasons we created it is because we've got some of the guys that are in our program, we've got a couple of people in their like 60s, like, and it's awesome to have people that are, doing things and growing businesses at that age. It's great to see. But I think for pretty much 99.9% of people, they haven't actually considered what do they want to do with their life. If they got to the end of their life, they're on their deathbed, what are the things that they're going to regret not having done in their life? I'm actually genuinely curious, like if you've spent much time thinking about that and what those things look like to you. Because like one of the things that we ran this exercise a little bit with the guys at the retreat, and they came up with some really cool shit. So I'm genuinely curious.
For me, I do this with all clients as well, is that we understand cost of ideal lifestyle first. Yep. So forward project 5 to 10 years in advance, down to like, what are you going to spend on your house, transport? And ultimately it just becomes a list of priorities. Do that for myself. So it's like, we spit out like a chart that comes up with like, cool, when you're at this point of ideal lifestyle, you're going to have 60% of your income or 60% of what you're spending is going to go to your house. Some's going to go to your car, like bills, etc. Right? But when you understand what the cost of ideal lifestyle is, it's not what your business needs to make. It's what you need to get paid after tax, after savings, after all the bullshit.
This is with the calculator, but
marketing.
Yeah. So I've got a calculator like this too. And it ultimately just puts it in a place of like, well, your business needs to turn over $2.3 million a year for you to have this lifestyle. And then when you really put that into perspective, especially for someone like, let's say they're only earning 100 grand now, and they actually do the research of like, what's their car going to cost them? What's the house? What's this? What's inflation? And so on. And then you go, yeah, cool. What do you want to save? Like normally a good saving point, financial advisor confirm, but anywhere between 30 to 50% of like, that's a probably good place to save, right? 35% if you're a company is going to go to taxes straight away. Okay, now we need to figure out how much you need to make. And if you're running marketing, this will be like right up your alley. It's like you can reverse engineer back from what that marketing is, from what that cost of that ideal lifestyle is, all the way back to how much traffic you need on a page. So
generate everything. Yep.
And for me, like my cost of ideal lifestyle, a lot of it's going to go to a really fucking cool house and a really fucking cool car. Yep. And one of which will be ticked off at some point this year, and the rest of it will do time.
Yeah. I heard what you wanted. Yeah. Love it.
Yeah, so that's it's something that like I pay attention to a lot. If like, if truth be told, it's a number that my partner and I have we've gotten very clear on. We know what the number is, and we know exactly what work she has to do to contribute to that lifestyle as well. But it also allowed her to understand like why I spend the hours in the office that I do.
It gives
alignment on your values, right?
Spot on.
Yeah. One thing that made it really simple was when we got to the point of understanding that if, let's just say as well, you want to live off a certain lifestyle. This is what they don't factor in. I guess to close the loop of earlier as well, family going to retire in a year's time, they bought a factory and they've got all these things they need to sell. Yep. And it's like, well, but the question is, but how much do you need? Like, and think about if you were there and you need 150 grand between you a year. Like, again, it's not a ridiculous lifestyle, is it? Again, that's a very...
You're still probably not ticking off all the things you want to do before you
definitely not. Life, but their bucket list isn't going to be anywhere near as grand at that stage of their life. Least, but when you're further here, you think you're going to achieve all the things, right? When you're 25. So if you're at like, you want 200 grand a year. And again, when you already get to the stage of earning that, you need to be having, 6 mil invested.
Well, put it this way. If you want 100 grand in just a dividend, right, just paid out and passively, you need 1.6 to $2 million in a fund.
Yeah, correct.
Like, these are the conversations that as like young, high-spirited entrepreneurs, they don't really sit there and go, I should probably understand financial terminology and projections and understand what the fuck that looks like, because you're naive. And naivety at that point is a gift. It's like, well, I just want to rock up to the gym and trade my time. Who cares about the and as you said, like it feels so far away.
I'll deal with tomorrow.
Yeah. But I think fitness is the worst for this too. Like I work with, service business is my jam, right? But only about 30% of the people I work with now are in fitness. They're the worst for it. They are the ones that are so short-term minded. They are the ones that have probably never paid super. They're the ones that are, so avoidant of financial conversations. And I think that's just probably bred into the industry of like, it's just a personal trainer.
Yeah. You don't plan to be a personal trainer.
No.
And the societal culture of immediacy as well.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. People just say like, if you went to your retreat, I guarantee you there'd be someone in that retreat that if someone asked like, oh, what do you do? The answer would have been, I'm just a PT. And it's horrible that it's still said by the people that are in the industry. Like, but it's that mindset that they still think it's just a PT, that it's maybe a short-term thing, or maybe I'll have a crack at it turning into a business. If it doesn't, I'll go do something else more sustainable. And it's just like, it's rampant this time of year.
And there's a very real lack of context for why they're doing what they're doing and why they need to do something that's not just PT or not, or even position themselves that way because they haven't gone to the effort to think that far ahead and have those difficult conversations, but with themselves in a way. It's like it takes fucking effort to go. I mean, the amount of hours that I've put into the calculator building that out, so it projects things and calculates it all for them based on like ideal lifestyle, then the amount that they need in assets to earn that in passive income, and then the amount that the business needs to do, factor in costs, and then reverse engineering that into like new clients versus churn, and like projecting that out over the course of 3 years. Like it's fucking hard to calculate that stuff and think about, but it's I'd say for the viewers,
it's such a
like,
foreign concept for most people too.
It's wild, dude. And I'd say for the viewers, like anybody watching, it's like success leaves clues, right?
Yeah,
So
this shit
like,
doesn't happen by accident.
Yeah.
Like people say to me all the time, like, oh, did you expect to grow the business to what it was? I was like, look, as a 18-year-old kid, no. But there was a point where like, well, if I'm going to keep doing this, I'm going to make it worth my fucking time. Like it wasn't just I woke up one day and then I hired 6 staff and then I hired another 10. It wasn't like, it was intentional action. And like, sure, I didn't know that the fitness industry would hold what it did and, you know, pave that line for me. But at some point there's a crossroads where you go, well, fuck, am I strapping up and I'm packing a lunch, or am I getting out?
Reese, I said this to Matt in the car, like Reese was always fucking driven. Yeah. Like you see people come through the industry, and again, I was always 10 years, you know.
For context, Reese has worked with you for a while, like
we went back in 2016 or something.
Yeah, mate, it would have been longer, a while ago.
So I saw you even around a bunch of other guys, and I was just like, dude, you were doing Instagram lives and, you know, stories, and mate, I fucking remember you on a couch at home, just like, you know, fucking frothing over blood work, and you had the passion, right? Like you said even before when we went out lunch, like you just talked about, you know, you start off like most, you got to obsess about skill set and all of those things, and you run those bases, but levels, you're never happy at the level that you're at, and you keep wanting to level it up. And
I think it's the natural game of competitive nature. Like you mentioned that, like there were others in the gym that I worked at the time that were like, you know, maybe Big showed that they were doing okay, but it was always me that was like, I want to do fucking better. And like, rather than talk about doing better, I wanted to do better. And like, I think that was there's definitely an intentional shift. And I think a lot of the business owners that, you know, that you guys work with, that I work with, they may be even on that cusp of, maybe I'll pay someone to drive that intention. And it's like, well, I can pay someone and therefore then the problem will fix. And it's not that way. Like, and that's something like I have that conversation on the way in. It's like, look, yeah, sure, I'm expensive. Sure, you're going to pay me a lot of money, but I can't do the work for you. And you paying me doesn't just automatically guarantee the outcome.
How many times have we had this conversation around, and I know it's a simple one, I know people think about it, but we've had more experience with winners versus we just do okay.
Yeah.
Right? Like
I will clarify that, and I guarantee you're back on this. The reason you have had more experience with winners is because you have failed a lot, learned from it, and then won yourself.
Like, winners win.
Wouldn't still be here.
Yeah, but it's like you like people always say game recognize game. Like game also recognize fail too, because the person that has the game has failed fucking 10 times more.
100%.
So
yeah, we just see. I mean, I think, you know, like us, you've obviously gone through and you've had lots of mentors and etc. Like if someone's curious, they're always showing up, and I don't mind the energy when someone's like, I get fucking frustrated at the business, and we'll be growing. And by the way, it's like, I will say, with having a business partner like Matt as well, he's incredible for me. Like I am the visionary, ADHD, fucking driven, impatient.
Yeah.
You know, Matt is like, I mean, I could, and I say this with love, but dude, I could fucking throw shit at Matt, and he's like, oh, thanks, bro. Yeah. Right? Like, but he's calm. Yeah. Mate, he's like, dude, we could talk about shit that comes up at retreat, which is just so much fun. But, you know, when we talk about psychedelics and experiences that we've had, and but one thing about it's been so nice having someone that's calm, because again, then some of the best conversations have come from those frustrations, those learnings, those lessons, because we show up just like when we go to a mentor. It's like, right, we noticed that this bit's broken and we need to fix that. Yep. Right. And then again, we go down the rabbit hole of fixing it, and it takes weeks. And yeah, you got to balance growing a business, building out systems, you know, going without sleep sometimes. You just got to fix shit.
Yeah.
Because like you're always wanting, right, I want to fix that. I want to improve that, because that's that's also where the enjoyment comes from.
Yeah.
But you're troubleshooting all the time.
Pursuit, the overcoming of the challenge. It's not the getting to the top of the mountain. It's the journey up the mountain that's the enjoyable part. Because like anybody could take a fucking helicopter to the top of the mountain and be like, cool, I'm at the top of Everest. But it's like the enjoyment actually, and the fulfillment comes from the journey.
Yeah, I find that's something that I actually do. Like, I enjoy letting some clients go through some of their problems, even though that I very well may know exactly what the outcome will be. And I think mentoring is a game of leapfrog, not a game of helicopter to the top. Like I will let my clients leapfrog over the big problems, the ones that like could completely be catastrophic. It's like, no, I've been there, I've done that, and yeah, cool. Don't do that thing. But the little ones, the things that like...
But they still have to then go and execute or not execute the thing, like, depending on what your feedback is.
And it's funny when you look back, and I'm sure you guys would be able to relate, that you look back on some of the problems that have come up in business over the last 5, 10, however many years. And if it was to happen again now, you'd be like, okay, let's go. Like, you've got the lesson now, and you can... I know that like the first time that I had a staff member quit and like abruptly quit, it was like my CFO was in here. We had a... like a HR, like an outsourced HR come in, and we stayed in here till about 4 a.m. because I was like, what the fuck do we do? But that's happened now 2 or 3 times more where we've just had someone like literally pull the rug out of nowhere. And we're like the last time I'm like, oh, this again. Okay, there's clearly a problem with staffing and churn of staff. We need to fix that. But it's less of an emotional, like, holy fuck.
Yeah, it's just data.
Yeah, it's just like, okay, what next?
Yep,
like,
exactly.
I think that like, if there's anyone listening that maybe is on that first 100 grand to 250 grand, those lessons in that bracket, I think they're the ones that are the most hard, because like they're the ones you have to forget. You have to learn them the first time, but then also forget them, because like those, like whatever lessons you learnt there won't take you to 500, won't take you to $1 million, won't take you to 5. It's like those first problems are the hardest ones to face, because they're the ones that come up so aggressively, and then you have to go, okay, cool. That's done now. Whatever lesson I learned probably won't serve me forward. Very challenging.
It's a constant evolution of your identity as well. It's like if you obviously, I know that you've read Psycho-Cybernetics. I don't know if you've
one of my favorites.
Read Psycho-Cybernetics. You would love it, dude. It's like the original book on like success.
Okay.
The whole concept is around your subconscious self-image and the power of belief. And so they use the idea of like hypnotism and how they can basically, you can get somebody to believe something, even like their physiology will react in a certain way. So it's like if they convinced and hypnotized somebody into believing that their finger was a hot iron and they touched their skin, they would welt up in a hot burn. And it's like this guy that wrote the book was a plastic surgeon, Maxwell Maltz, super smart. And so he, day in, day out, is working with people having facial reconstructions and plastic surgery and all that sort of stuff.
You know what it's like? You walk in, you go, I just want a smaller head. And you're like, they're like, what's wrong with your head?
Yeah.
And you're
just
like, it's
circle.
Just fucking massive.
Yeah.
Right? Stopping me from doing this and that.
He used the analogy of someone with big hands.
Yeah.
You got big hands, or what's that mean? You're clumsy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. But yeah, it's just interesting because like as you go through those cycles and those lessons, you start to build character. You start to learn more about yourself. You start to shift your identity into less of, because like it's very easy starting out to play a bit of the victim to certain things. It's like, oh, why is this happening to me? But then you start to realize that this is actually happening for you, because in you overcoming those problems, that is how you build the skill sets and the character required to ultimately get to your end goal.
Yeah.
Yeah, you would love that book, dude. Psycho-Cybernetics. It's a classic.
That's a read for Fiji, I think.
Yeah.
Dude, it's an OG book. It's before a lot of like even using the word like visualization. He's like, go into the theory of your mind. And it's like, it's real. I listen to the audiobook because I fucking love it. And I would listen to that at least once a year now. I've done it for probably the last 4 or 5.
Very good.
It is pretty awesome because again, you can't outperform if you think that you're not enough, or it's this guy that's running your mate that's running away from fear all the time or whatever, then it's always going to be fear. And then it's always going to recreate until you fucking dissolve that and go beyond that. That's your whole life's fucking lesson to learn how to do it, because otherwise you're creating, again, if you're in tension, you got gut issues your whole life, and it's a flow-on effect, as you know, of health. If you're teaching, imagine, what's he teaching other people?
Yeah.
What are you teaching as a health? We don't go down that rabbit hole, but most trainers are fucked up in all kinds of areas and teaching them bad shit because they didn't fix their own shit.
Yeah, bro. Look at the fitness industry as a whole. Everyone's come from a position of lack.
Yeah.
They just wanted to get bigger, leaner, look better, more vanity. They weren't very happy with who they were.
No.
Like myself included. I was there. I was like, it's you're right, it's a fucking rabbit hole. But
I'd love to hear a little bit about your experience of the saying your business can only scale to your degree of self-development.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to hear some of the things that maybe all the journeys or experiences that you've gone through that are pivotal, I guess, in your self-development, in your character and sort of things.
Me, character is a big part of my life. Character is currency, is tattooed on my arm.
Yes.
And I think the way you gather that currency, or the way you stack that currency, is through the shit. And like the personal development things for me across business have largely been around people. I think like the first and most poignant one is that, at some point you can't scale the business past you. And if your time is bottlenecked, like you need to relinquish control, you need to relinquish ego, you need to give trust before trust is proven. And, we're taught and we grow up, trust isn't given, trust is earned.
Yep.
Whereas like when you've got a business, trust has to be given and then earned and reaffirmed later. And that was probably the biggest thing that I think that was probably the biggest bottleneck initially of personal development, experience, whatever it might be.
Relinquishing control,
not just control, because like it's very easy to say I can relinquish control and go, I don't care, right? Especially for like medial tasks that just really didn't mean that much.
That's indifference.
Yeah.
But
whereas trust, when it was like, give someone, for example, taking me completely out of the coaching role and giving someone in the team or multiple people in the team the trust to uphold my standard without me double checking their work. Because like, sure, I could just offshoot it to someone else, but then if I have to triple check, double check, I may as well do it myself. So it's a matter of trust, let the data lead the decision. And like, I think that's my thing now, that everything is data driven. I don't let emotion have any play in business. I think that was the thing that I struggled with initially. And like that might shock a lot of people. Like, oh, I'm the data guy. I'm the very objective. I'm very direct. I'm very like, you either do the work or you don't, right? It either works or it doesn't. And then we look binary. And then it's like, sure, it's binary to begin with. And then we go, we want to learn the lesson. It's like, to which degree did it work? But it's binary first.
Yes.
Whereas once upon a time, I was very much like searching for, as you said before, that, marketing, throw shit at the wall, see what works. I would just throw consistently and never stop to see. And that comes from that trust and control.
No feedback loop.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Very cool. It's a very valuable lesson that as well, like surrendering. Surrender Experiment is another great was recommended to me. Again, my old mentor. That taught me a lot. It's a guy, Singer is his name. Yeah. He pretty much built WebMD to what it was and had like a $300 million exit. And it's like this like spiritual kind of like book about his journey around how he started as like this hippie, go meditate in the forest, and then through this like surrender experiment that he playing his whole life, he just constantly relinquishing his preference to things, just always constantly letting go. And like he notices things come into his life and opportunities and things come up, and it's like, I don't like that, I don't want to do that, and this is it, recognize it. He's like, cool, like that's just my opinion.
Yeah, dude.
It's just feelings. And then he leans into it.
I could go on that for hours. Like, preference doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like this is where like if I had it my way, I'd be covered in more tattoos. Long story short, I'm very allergic to tattoos. You wouldn't pick it, but you wouldn't pick it. But the work will always take care of you. That's the thing that I'd have it all on my body 10 times over, is that, and where that comes from is that the preference is not the issue. Like when I was first scaling Limestone and when we were going through our biggest points of stress, my preference was be at home with my partner on the couch with our dog. But the preference doesn't fucking matter. Like and there were conversations we had early on. It's like, but you're at work all the time. I'm like, yeah, I know. I don't want to be, but it's a matter of, I have to. And it's sure sunken cost fallacy. If I've already put in fucking 5-6 years of my life to this, if I just pull back off the gas now, then none of it was worth it. But it's like I think in business, removing the ideal of preference, especially your personal preference, because like especially a lot of business owners, whether it be their first six figures or their first multi-six figures, they still believe they are the business, and they still believe that they are the superhero of the story. And it's like, your preference doesn't fucking matter. It's the client's preference is the only thing that's important. And removing getting that disconnect. Yeah. It's a hard process.
Getting really clear on what's most important to you first. Again, like creating context for why you do the things that you do and why you want to show up in a certain way. And getting really clear on that. Like you said, like client's preference is what's important. And like knowing what's most important to you to ultimately have the things that you want and be the person that you want to be and do the things that you want to do you have, right? knowing what's most important first is the most important thing, because then that gives everything else context. So if you're like, like you were saying, sitting on the couch, being your preference, that's your preference. Like, cool, you know what's most important. So you make that decision, and then you do the action and take the actions that map to that thing that's most important.
Yeah.
The preference doesn't matter.
I think the concept of be, do, have is flawed. It's just do. Like, you can't be anything.
Yeah.
Like, you can't just esoterically sit here and say, I will be rich.
Yeah, figment of the imagination.
Like, it doesn't do anything. You just have to do.
You were talking about Peter Crone this morning. One thing I love about, again, manifest the word, whatever, and what you're talking about. At the end of the day, like he says things like, you have the future, it doesn't exist. It's not real. Like, so again,
it's solipsistic to think that you can control it too.
It's an idea to think that you want something, and there's nothing wrong with that. So we will goal set, and we will think about where we want to go. And for anyone that watches this or that has met Reese, I mean, I remember coming to your workshop, and I was just like, dude, I built a business of $3.5 million turnover without your fucking spreadsheets, doing the work, head down, bum up, 10 sales staff doing the work. Like, and again, probably on the less system side, hence a Matt is amazing, or a Reese. And I'd love to talk about churn, because I think this is really good for people that would watch this back to understand how to regulate your emotions.
Churn is the most important metric in any business.
Yeah, so we definitely want to go there. But I guess to close off on this, I just love that, once you understand what you want, right, all you have is now. And again, that is the action. So it is about the energy. It's about how you show up. And it's about understanding that if you know where you want to go, right, then you got to put that activity in. So if you want an extraordinary life, you got to unfuck it by just understanding that all your bullshit and all your past it happened. It's done.
Yeah,
it doesn't exist anymore.
No, the quicker you get past it and you go, cool story, Hansel, let's fucking move forward.
Yeah.
Right? Then you can do the things because you can have a great life. Also, really interesting, you say it a lot, but like, you're really on point. Like, I think people also really wrestle, just to talk about the partner thing. People really wrestle with someone else's, oh, babe, like, again, my wife, she loves family. She's a wog. Family is typically a very high value coming from that background. Like, having different value sets as well. There's this like, oh, maybe I need to change a bit.
Maybe it doesn't work.
Maybe you should work less because I need to stop X. You clearly fucking value wealth creation right now in your life higher. It doesn't need to be a conflict as long as there's
you're
growth,
100% right.
Growth in general.
You've been saying this a lot.
I say it all the time, is that there are no priorities. It's not plural. It's singular, and it's just in seasons. Like, and I've had to wrestle with that, whether it be with my friends, my family, my partner, and like I'm very grateful that at some point they have understood and seen that. Like, I have proof. Like, I have a fucking gym that no one else can use. Like, my work has paid off. Like, and so I said this to a client a while ago that, like, he was going through this whole conversation of, like, he was working, and his partner was like, man, you're always at work. And, we're saying, like, dude, you should work less, spend more time at home. And he was getting a bit like riled up about it. I go, well, to be fair, wouldn't you think the same? And he goes, what do you mean? I go, your business has gone backwards by 30% in the last year. None of what you've done has worked. So she has no proof of all this extra work is actually doing anything. So you've done the wrong things. He was just like, maybe I need to, like, sure, working isn't the answer. It's doing the right work, for one. And then just making that the priority. It's like the singular priority for the next season, however that be, 12 months, 2 years, 5 years, doesn't matter. If you prioritize that thing in that season, that thing will grow and flourish to a point where you can step away from it and now reprioritize something else.
Yeah. Dan Meredith's a guy, I can't help but talk about fucking mentors today. But Dan Meredith, do you know him?
No, I don't.
We stand on the shoulders of giants, so it's
like I've just been around amazing people.
Silly to deny that we do things alone.
Yeah, and I'm not going to pretend. Like, I've always had good people in my corner. But Dan's a great dude. Probably one of the OG copywriters. Coffee with Dan's his Facebook group. He's got like 18,000. Not many people have
I've never heard of him.
like that, right? Really down to earth. That's what I relate to. He's fucking real, and he's been very real and raw. To be honest, like fucking mental breakdowns, too much vodka, cocaine, all the things,
all the stuff. Yep.
Absolute dude though. And he just talks about that whole, what if you for the next 3 to 5 years, what are you willing to sacrifice? And again, but you need to go in and think about it.
Willingness too. Is that word willingness? Like, I think it's in a book called Ego is the Enemy, maybe, or I can't remember.
Brian Holiday.
Yeah. I think it might be that. Read by an Irish dude.
I don't know if I did the audio.
Might be Unfuck Yourself. I don't know.
Gotcha.
Whatever it might be. it's unfuck yourself. Is like the question you need to ask yourself is, am I willing?
Yeah.
That like every decision framework you go through is like, am I willing? It's like, am I willing? Because who said this? Speaking of mentors, Hormozy said there's no obligations but only consequence. So like, am I willing to accept the consequence? Because I don't have an obligation to come home at 5 p.m. on the dot. I have a consequence that might annoy my partner if we aren't on the same page.
Yeah.
Am I willing to accept that?
Sleep.
Yeah.
It's like you don't have an obligation to sleep, but there is a very real consequence to doing that.
So it's weighing up the willingness to understand the consequence. You can do that, and you can just weigh up consequence rather than action. Life gets a lot easier.
Yep. Reese, I think when I first did the podcast, it was very new to Coaches Collective. Like,
it was very early on.
It's been hard, man. Like, it's been hard. Like, just
what particularly?
Like reinvesting when it was just tight at the start.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, I was used to having a PA, we had a marketing agency, we had a team behind me, and then I went, you know what, I'm going to fucking prove to myself, and talk fucking about the word prove, but just that I'll do it organically.
Yep.
It'll all pay for itself.
Yep.
So, you know, even coming back to like, you know, thinking about what I had to do to work out where I want to go and my vision, all that, like that was my world, my skill sets, what I wanted to build. But then I had to be willing to be like, it's going to be fucking hard. And there was times when I actually, before Matt was a business partner, I was paying him as a consultant. I paid him more. And this is about the value of understanding, for example, like marketing.
And what your priority is.
What my priority was, I'm getting something, I know exactly where it was going. And I told my wife going into it, like, babe, it's going to be fucking hard. I was borrowing, you know, we were going backwards for about $1,500 a week. And I was paying Matt more than $1,500, $2,000 a week when I was getting something off the ground. I'm like, I know where I'm going. I know what I have to do. And fuck, like, not taking a solid shit for about the first year and a half, the stress that came with it. That was literally going to, I knew it was going to affect my health.
Yeah.
And I wasn't in the best mental space at the time, having gone through a whole lot of shit that I was working through. But what was I doing? I was fucking seeing a psych every week to work on my shit because I realized a whole lot of shit came up on the other side of that I didn't realize in the back of COVID and all this stuff.
Likewise.
Dude, business coaches are like, fuck, paying the team before I was paying myself. All of the things that, once again, if you want to grow something fucking decent, and again, a business is something, then you've got people and systems and things that work for you, and then it is then paying you, like I said, an income after that.
Yeah. Well, man, like I just said before, first time we had a staff member just pull the rug. Yep. He was pulling the rug over, wanted more cash. He was getting paid close to 90 grand a year. He was working probably 15 hours a week. Right. I got him on a call and I said, hey man, like I understand we always want more. Can I just show you my tax return from last year?
Yep.
And it was sub 10 grand. Like I paid myself sub 10 grand in the first year that we were on our highest point of scale. Like I wanted to make sure that the team was taken care of, everything was stable, and you know, I could have paid myself a lot more, but I wanted a point of stability where, you know, and this is call it over exaggerative.
Priority was right.
Well, I just wanted to be safe, and this is when I was very much operating out of a position of fear. So I wanted 3 years of expenses in the bank, just sitting there just in case, not just personal expenses, team expenses, like facility, all of it. And that took me eating shit. That took me just stressing, you know, fucking shit and water for 6 months. Like, not fun.
And no doubt, I know you let your health go, all of the things, right? But again, if we come back to what we've tied in today, like knowing the end point, or knowing you need 6 mil in the fucking bank or whatever it is to make 200 grand a year, like knowing that, you understand that you've got to be willing for that 3-5, like solid block. Like really, for you to go, how quickly has Limestone? It's been 6 years, 8 years.
So I've Limestone as its core. If we backdate it to just being me, in the gym, started in 2012.
Okay. But when you specifically focus on the online component,
the online component probably happened in 2017, 2016.
Like it's a pretty quick, you know, like 8 years of solid work. And even then, when did it really start to grow?
Well, that's the thing. If you look at like taking it properly online, maybe 2016, it took 5-6 years to hit its first 7 figures.
Yep.
And then whatever 5x is in the next 3. Like
we keep saying this whole like exponential scale. Yeah. That's it in a nutshell.
Yeah.
He who knows, he who has a big enough why can suffer almost anyhow.
Yeah. Fucking knows. Yeah. Talk to me about churn.
Well, we've just been opening the PTs up to it, and it's been really interesting.
Blows their mind, hey.
Oh, they just this is why I'm fucking running around in circles.
And then they sit there and go, oh, but I've got good retention. I keep people for 32 weeks. It's like, retention's the other end of the scale, fuckhead.
10 people on this month, but I only lost one. Like, but no, but that's not churn.
When we talk about percentage of the people that were current, it's like
total client base.
Yeah, right when I talk churn, it just like, it's so tantalizing for people to just focus on retention. Like, oh, they look at their books. I've had a client for the last 52 weeks. Cool. As a percentage, how many left? And then when you look at that and they're like, fuck, like average of like a normal personal trainer, like in that 100 to 200 grand, their churn's north of 30%. Like, and like, that's insane.
That's why they're chasing their tail and they wonder why they never get out of.
Well, it's exactly why they feel like it's 2 steps forward, 2 steps back.
Yep.
Yeah, they feel like things are moving.
Personal trainers either. Like most business owners don't know this stuff. I didn't learn this stuff until like the last year.
Yep.
Like,
that's why I would wish I was, I'm married to a financial planner, but average clients are 10 years.
Yeah.
On 50 to 100 grand at that level.
That's wild.
Good client base.
That's nice.
That's why Tony Robbins talks about buying into financial services businesses.
Yeah, makes sense.
And then they sell for multiple
investment.
Yeah, old money.
Yeah.
I think like the churn game, especially fitness, business, whatever, any industry, I think it comes from a place of ego. Like people just think, well, I'm good enough to charge X. I will keep charging X. So therefore value is Y. Like, no, especially in service, generally the longer someone spends with you, the value proposition depreciates because they spend more and more time with you. They feel like this is now just normal. You become a part of their furniture.
Perceived value.
Yeah. So
they're spending more and more and more, and it starts to hit a bell curve.
Yeah, and when you look at the simple math on it, like you've got a 30% churn. If you can pull that down to 15%, you make 50% more profit.
Yep.
Very fucking easy lever,
right?
Yeah,
it's very cool.
Like, and then even like for the listeners, it's very simple. Like I know you guys know this math, but like a 10% churn pull down to 5%, again, double profit. Like where else in your business can you double your fucking profit? Right, or 50% profit rather.
I think the big thing with most people, and the reason that churn is a little bit confusing for a lot of people, because they think, and I fell into this as well, is they think about it as like a fixed rate.
Yes.
Of the amount of clients that they bring on versus a variable rate based on the total clients that you currently have. So we track it on a monthly basis. We track it weekly and then look at the main monthly metric.
Just the average monthly.
Yeah, exactly. So that way we can, get an average. But it's such a game changer to know what that number is and then be able to project out to see where your ceiling is based on the number of clients you're bringing on every month and then the number of clients you're losing out of your total client base, so that you can see, okay, where is my ceiling at? Because if you've got, say, 100 clients and you're only bringing on 10 clients a month, your churn is 10%.
Net neutral.
Yeah, you're bringing on 10 clients a month, great, but you're losing 10 clients as well. So you've either got
your equilibrium is 100
clients or reduce your churn to continue growing. And this is then it turns scaling essentially into a science, into a math, because it's just economics, right?
The two calculators that you've spoken about today, I take it you guys have calculators for these. I have my onboarding process for taking on a new client is we identify their goal allocated lifestyle spend. So like, what do you need to have? And then we look at a backdated churn from the last 12 months and we go month by month. We go, cool, well, here's your client capacity calculator. This is exactly how many people you churn up to or down to. This is your ceiling.
Yep.
And most of the time it's lower than where they currently are. We go, cool. If we don't fix, like, I know that you come to, like most people say, I want more leads. They come to me like, I just want to get more leads. Like,
I think it's a lead problem, which can in some
ways.
Well,
you can negate the churn, sure, but you'll still grow downwards.
It's a manual effort.
Yeah. Whereas like 9 times out of 10, that's the first thing I focus on. It's like, cool, I know you want more leads, but if we don't fix this, you don't have a business in 6 months. They go, fuck. Cool. Let's party. Let's go.
The interesting thing as well is like we did this with like a 3-year projection.
Yeah.
So in our calculator, it shows them kind of where their ceiling is, but we also use that projection as a way to show them based on the income that your business needs to generate, how many clients do you need to have and how long will it take you to get to that point with factoring in you're bringing on this many clients per month and you're losing this many. And so the interesting thing is like, cool, you might be at the point where you have 20 clients at the moment and you need to get to 100 or 150. The gap is not 80 clients. The gap is the amount of clients plus churn, which then works out over the course of, say, 3 years, like 300 clients or 400 clients if you do the math.
Super confronting for most people.
Yeah, they sit there,
Yeah, color drains from their face, and or they sit there and they go, "That math doesn't." They try and challenge the math.
Yeah,
it's like I've had so many people like, "But how? I've made more money in the last year." It's like, yeah, you might have in the last year because you had a busy period in June because everyone wanted to start getting ready for summer. But based on the last 12 months data, your December and January was fucked. So your average churn across the year actually levels out to be 22%. You think it like you've got a nice month here that's 10%. Average is 22. In 3 years, you're cooked.
And
business is a game of math. That's one thing. Like I was
economics,
yeah.
Like even with advertising, that was one of the big lessons I learned early on. Is like we're working with who was it? There's some guy that came into the agency. I forget who it was, but it's a massive advertiser involved with a company called I forget. Some massive financial publication company that's like 80% of their staff is copywriters.
Yep.
Todd Brown, and he came in and we were doing some stuff with him, and the biggest thing that I got from him is that it's all a game of economics. It's literally all a game of economics, because if you know your return on ad spend, or you know your churn and your new clients, and you know the math and what that breaks down to, you can calculate whether doing this and what you're doing is actually producing the outcome that you want or not. And if it is, do that more. And then it becomes extremely fucking simple, because you know that your ads are producing a positive return on an ad spend. Cool, fucking spend more money on ads. You don't need to come up with new ads, just spend more fucking money. It becomes
a machine that you can, like, once you understand the total lifetime gross profit, and then if you, like, there's two, like, a lot of, like, I don't do a lot of ad spend, but a lot of my clients do, and we manage a lot of their accounts. And a lot of the things that the main two things we'll look at is total cost of, like, total profit, so versus like cost of acquisition. And then we'll also look at negative churn. So if like, how many of or what as a percentage of these people that we're signing on are referring. And if we can understand exactly like, okay, well, 10% of the clients we take on refer, which means that 10% is now worth double over their LTV. We calculate that back to the ad spend. It's like, okay, cool. For every 10 people you bring on, you actually get an extra one too. When you understand that math and like it all levels up, it's all objective. As you said, it just becomes down to how much money can you spend? Because if the data's there and the machine is just ready to be fucking cranked and fed, and all it needs is money to feed it, but you have a guaranteed outcome. And this is where you said before, sometimes it comes down to a sales problem too. Yep. Like you could have all the numbers on the Meta Business Suite, but like your sales team, absolute trash. Cool, it's an internal issue. Once you've got all that fixed and you're converting over 60% of the leads, right, that you actually take on a call, so on and so forth, you can just fucking crank. And once like that's the systems.
It's a matter of how much cash flow do you have to put into it.
Yeah, and that's where like not to like get a little bit strategical, but that once when you're at that point, changing a pricing model to collect more cash on the front, where it's like a hybrid model, where first transaction is, let's say 30-40% of the transaction value of the lifetime value, and then you move straight away into a reoccurring revenue, which means for the client matches their perceived value and their buyer psychology. On the front end of any service, you expect more, right? It's like, oh, cool, I expect to pay more. It makes sense logically. But then I get them into a low repeat purchase rate and it's frequent.
Yeah, you've offset the recurrings by front loading some of it.
Yeah. And then
Taylor Welch talks about this a little bit. I don't know if you know Taylor Welch. He's OG of like marketing, is traffic and funnels. I don't know if you heard of those guys. That was his business.
Okay. I figured this out from fucking it up. We moved to we went to a paid in full model. Paid in full was good for cash flow, but re-sign rate at the back end of like the package period was just trash. So we just were like, well, how much can we start taking front end before it gets a lower return on sales conversions? And that's where like, once you have that model, like I would build that model after you've got the ads, the numbers, everything's sweet. If you can just take more in that first transaction than it costs to acquire them, infinite money.
Yep. So you got an ATM there. $1 in, $2 out.
Yep.
And that's when things get really fucking fun.
It also gets scary because that's when you need to hire fast. You get told early in business, hire slow, fire fast. But when you start scaling like that, that's where like you need talent quick. It's fucking challenging.
Yeah. Or you start adjusting the model of how you're delivering, which again, that's a project. And
then when you adjust the model, you have, if you adjust the model too much, it adjusts all your numbers.
Exactly. So, exactly. Yeah.
Lose, win, whatever way you look at it.
Back to when you were giving up, because a lot of our guys are getting to the stage where, like crazy, some guys got 65 clients and they're hitting that ceiling. Maybe to come back to your biggest lesson around stuff, and maybe it was a while ago for you to think about, but you're coaching people through it. What was the biggest shift? Again,
I'd argue first, I think really be objective and understand what your cap really is. I think a lot of people say I'm at my cap. then when you look at the system and the deliverable, it's a mess.
Mm-hmm.
So before staff, we need repeatable process. And if all of it is predicated on your skill set and 10 years of tenure of I just know how, then it's near on impossible to hire someone into that role to do well. So I would first come saying, if someone's got a cap of 65 clients, I dare say that they're doing things far too manually. They're not standardizing the approach. They're probably over delivering, because I've seen clients that have said their cap is 40 before, but then we've pushed them to 100. And it's just through changing systems first. And that, unfortunately, is a little bit of it's a tedious process, fine tuning. But what it does is it allows you to hire appropriately, because most people, and I will be very clear on this, most people think hiring just buys them back more time.
Yep.
And it does eventually.
Yeah.
But it's the first 3 months of probation period where you're double checking work, making sure it's done properly. You're doing double the work.
Yeah.
Right. And even more to that point, if you do outsource and then go do nothing with that time, you've just made less money.
Yep.
You've just pulled your profits down for nothing. So
yeah,
outsourcing appropriately to then ensure. So for example, coaches, one of the most common ones is they'll get a VA or what I would call a ghost coach, someone to help them with the communication, set up changes on the back end. But then they'll go, cool, now someone else is taking care of it, so I get more quote unquote lifestyle back, which is a choice, and that's fair if that's what they want. But ultimately, that just leads to less profit.
There's a way to do that properly.
Well, it's if you're going to bring someone on, it's what else are you doing to generate cash? Right? Are you moving into something else? Are you adding a different vertical? Are you ascending clients? Are you building more things that you can keep people longer? Whatever your time,
putting your time back into things that generate.
And revenue. It may not be an initial, a direct revenue raiser straight away, but as long as you're working on a project that will allow the business to flourish eventually, it's a worthy shift. But generally the cap comes from an emotional perspective first, not objective. So they're burnt out, they feel fatigued, they feel probably a bit sick of their clients.
You've been through some of Dan Martell's stuff, haven't you?
Podcast here and there.
I've heard you quote a couple of things of him.
Podcast here and there.
Yeah, but he talks about the pain line.
Okay.
You get to a certain stage and then, you fucking hit that pain line and you either fucking sabotage, you stall, or you sell the business.
That's accurate. Yeah. I've not heard that, but that sounds great.
Yeah.
I think with personal trainers, online coaches, it's an emotional response first. Fix that. So you have to become detached from the situation, detached from the outcome, and systemize and process. So create it down to the most nitty gritty bullshit, annoying stuff, systemize standard operating procedures.
We're doing the right thing when you hear me speak.
There's a software called Scribe AI. For anyone that runs an online business, it's incredible. It essentially acts as a screen recording software that takes notes as you go. And when you click things, it will circle and it creates an SOP. So whether it be, let's say you want to outsource some of the check-in process or the updating of plans, there needs to be an idiot-proof grade 4 reading level way to do that. Or better yet, a way to do that is idiot-proof, that is systemized, that is dot pointed, but also accompanied with videos. And essentially a course for whoever you hire needs to be there for you to adequately trust, because if you trust blindly, you're going to be eating some shit.
Yep.
So biggest lesson for me is be prepared for the hire. The hire, slow, fire, fast quote is one of the fucking most important things that I wish I learned early. That I always, and I still stand by this, hire before you're ready, because when you're ready, you're rushed, right? If you're at a point where I'm at my cap and I'm hiring, you're going to scramble, you will hire maybe, and very highly likely, the wrong person because you haven't vetted appropriately. But don't confuse hire before you're ready for hire fast. Start the hiring process before you're ready. Do your due diligence, find someone that's actually ready to do the work. Pass as a culture fit too. Do they want a job that they can clock in for an hour or two, or are they prepared to go? Because that will
hire for character first versus skill.
Yeah, what's your criteria recruiting wise? Right.
Mine is, over the years, has shifted. Once upon a time, it was far more casual, where it was just, I don't want to. If I can sit in a room with you and not want to kill myself, I'm happy.
Good stuff.
Yeah, it's if you're a good person and you're funny and I can have a good laugh with you, that was enough. And I think for the time in business where I was at that point, it served its purpose. Whereas now I hire for stress test. I will put someone through pretty vigorous test tasks with ridiculous timelines, and essentially undersell the job, because I need to know that they're prepared for the worst rather than just good for the day to day. And we've had some battles in business over the last 5 years that have been big, that have required more from staff, and they get paid very, very, very well for the normal day to day. And they get paid so well because when shit hits fans, it's we are here and we go. So I stress test them before we hire. So now I guess my biggest hiring criteria is stress tolerance.
How long is that? A few months or you?
Yeah. So our hiring process, the first round is 30 days, where each day they get a new test task that has a 12-hour delivery time. And it's by the end of the 30 days, we've got probably 10% of the people that have gotten through from the process.
That's cool.
A reason why I say this for anyone who's thinking about it, like I used to work, do a little bit of corporate wellness stuff with recruiting agencies.
Yeah.
It was fascinating. I think that's the biggest challenge they have when you recruit is the delay between getting upskilled to actually doing the thing.
Yeah.
And they have 90-day manuals and checklists, and a big part of what we've put time into, and we're actually about to refilm all of ours, is just that if you can checklist, and again, it's for a client, so it's the same thing, right? If you can checklist, and if you know that onboarding 90 days, you can get the traction, that's the key first, right?
It's buy-in.
You get that right. Everything else is better. And again, lifetime customer value goes up.
Communication cadence is a big one too, like staff. Like I believe in the first 4 weeks, like communication cadence has to be massive. That's why we do a test task every 12 hours, Monday through Friday, because it gives us 2 touch points a day. And if they miss a touch point at any point throughout that first 30 days, they're gone. Right. So that's a paid hiring process. We pay them per hour. And I'm willing to cop the loss on the front end. Generally, we hire now for ghost coaches exclusively, where it's our main front-facing, brand holders, socially front-facing, putting content together, etc. But we have a massive support team on the back,
right?
And those people need to be prepared to message at the drop of a hat. They need to be really good at communicating. That's their main role. And I'm very happy to take the loss on their first 30 days. If there's 5 of them going through that process at once, because what they do in that first 30 days is they just literally watch the person that's above them do the job. And then they have to send notes. One of their test tasks every day is just send a summary of all the conversations had today. What was said, who said it, how, and it's building essentially a frequently asked questions and frequently solved problems. So that when they get graduated into being a legit member of the team, they already know the tonality of the person that they're emulating. They know how they talk. They know what questions they ask. They know how they answer them. And I've paid them, X amount per hour for the 30 hours a week that they work. And some of them won't make it through that. That's so fine. Because then I get to the end of the month, if we hire and we're going through a push phase, that person that I bring on, I know that I can increase the workload of that sector of the team by 30% from one person. So I'll take the loss on the first 3, 4, 5 people that don't make it through that first 30 days.
Positive investment, right?
Yeah. But it's for, if we talk smaller scale, a lot of coaches will say, okay, I want to hire someone, but they're not prepared to go through the teething process and pay them for it. It's like, why do you expect, sure, be aggressive on your test tasks on the way in, but you need to also be prepared to pay for the fuck ups. If you
that's their education, that's their training.
Yeah. If you haven't prepared them well enough as well, if you don't have that SOP in place, you don't have an idiot proof process, you don't have a scalable model, and it's all predicated on your skill set that you've learned over the last 10 years, what do you expect?
Yeah. Whatever exists in the business,
like you said,
with multipliers, right?
Yeah. It's chaos.
Circle.
Fully.
How are we for time? Yeah, you guys both had to wrap up around 3 and 2.
One question I have for you.
Shoot.
Yes, is this time of year then, because there's going to be a drop off
for
a lot of coaches that go into the Christmas period.
Yep.
What's the key thing that you're advising your guys on?
If they're in person, really high strategical benefit to double up on their sessions. So all the remaining people, you can wrap it in any sort of offer of a bow. If you can put a bow on it in any way you want to. Some that have worked really well for some of my clients they've done over the next 30 days, it's $200 to $300 down, and they get double sessions. And then if they get to the end of those 30 days and they've shown up to all those sessions, they can use that $200 to $300 as a credit for their next 12 months. So they pull down their session cost over the next 12 months by, at that point, probably $8 to $6, but they lock that client for another 12, right? Could also just be if you're really trying to if you're cash flow poor and you've got time, double up the sessions, half the price on the second, but at a time period. So you could go, let's say between now and Jan 1st, we're roughly 5 weeks, 6 weeks. From today till Jan 1st, you can get a second session if they're seeing you once. A second session, let's say simple numbers, $100. for a normal session, you get your second session for 50, but it's only until Jan 1st. You give value, and you get them to experience value, and then they're very likely to upkeep that value. So you just up their price in Jan.
Yes.
For the online, for in-person as well, a lot of people are forgetting that a gym is just an out-of-home media position, right? Like you see buses, you see billboards, you see all these things. If you're able to advertise in your gym, do so, but aggressively rotate it rather than...
Keep newness.
Yep. Rather than like, I'll put up one offer for the next 30 days, I would be rotating that offer. And let's say like if we use a Snap Fitness as an example, Snap Fitness is red. Everything is red. Make your posters fucking blue or green. Like stand the fuck out.
Yeah, do something different.
Right. And rotate it aggressively.
Again, there's no such thing as a saturated market only board.
Yeah. And just rotate it aggressively. And whether that be just like, you look at general, like, gyms, big box gyms or gen pop gyms, most people don't know what they're doing. So your offer doesn't need to be excessive. It can literally just be like a QR code with ask me a question, get free form feedback. Like something that just drives traffic that's controllable rather than...
And removes barriers. That's the big thing that the big mistake they make. Create barriers inadvertently without realizing.
People just often try and create an offer that gets them paid rather than gets them control of data.
Yes.
Like I want data.
Big time.
I want names and numbers.
Data allows you to form relationships.
Yep. So don't go for the jugular. Don't go for the sell.
Try to fuck on the first date, basically.
For the online guys, I would just be focusing on the people that already pay you. Like, there's a million things you can do to acquire new customers. Like leverage close friends, leverage storytelling, leverage content. There's fucking heaps. But I would be more focused on the people that already pay you. Create a ambassador program leading into Christmas. Really easy way to do that. Strategic thing for everyone to go apply would be create like a point system internal giveaway where someone can unlock extra of you, more of you, something better, different, new in the new year. The way they access that is through points. How they get points is by social shares and driving as much traffic to what you do. And then...
Great platform for doing that actually was UpViral.
Okay.
I don't know if you've heard of that, but it basically gamifies contests.
Cool.
It's a great way to run stuff.
Challenge
like
of sorts.
Yeah.
Essentially, yeah.
Yeah. But make the challenge not just about like physicality.
Doing the work.
It's about sharing. It's about sharing. It's about bringing eyes to you.
Yeah.
And then, but position it as like a join my ambassador program.
Yep.
So you're giving everyone like a degree of status. Hey, I want you to become a VIP. VIPs are the only one that can partake in this challenge to unlock this really cool thing. VIPs just happen to pay 10% extra too. So now they pay more to share you more for you to make more money later. And the people, I guarantee people say, can't do that. You can. Like we've done it. So have clients do it. Like you can.
Yep.
Like you're the boss of your business. I think like a lot of people forget that. You guys probably notice it too, that people are like, oh, like what will people think? Can't do that. Like you're the boss.
Yep. The first thing that we get a lot of our guys to do is like transition a lot of their one-on-one sessions to semi-private small line, and usually with a price increase as well. And so the challenge for a lot of them that they come up against is like, oh, I can do that. Like, of
course you can.
Yeah, like, it's your
there's
business,
there's
bro.
ways
like,
to there's ways to make it easier.
Yeah.
But when in doubt, like it's
perception.
Like, you can also, if you're like, I know that this sounds like self-deprecative, but mentoring is a lot of, especially in that early game, like it's largely why I don't like being in that area of that first 6 figures. Is it's largely just being told to do what you already know you should do. Like if someone sit there and says, logically, should I charge more? Should I shift to an online model where they get some more value from me that is not just my time in the gym? It would say yes. You go, okay, just do that then. Like they already have the answer. They just go, they most of the time just need the confidence.
Trust themselves to figure it out, which is the big challenge. And I think that's a skill that, again, most people don't realize that is one of the most foundational skill sets is learning how to trust yourself to figure shit out.
But also, bro,
fucking use Google and YouTube. Like,
but also like the fundamental thing is fuck around, find out.
Yeah,
like you don't have to know.
Yeah.
Fucking
literally
try.
Just said that in the car today.
Like, just fucking try.
Those exact words. It's so funny.
Literally in those words.
Fuck around and find out. Yeah.
Reece, we did a end of year. So we've been doing a long form.
Cool.
On YouTube. Really enjoying it. And we did our end of year game plan and literally walk people through something exactly similar to what you just said around, I guess gamifying it. Definitely sussed out. We love, and we're really enjoying it, dude. It's so much fun being able to riff, go deeper. We look to, in many ways, we look to recreate that in a way where we could get lots of clips and do that. And to be honest, like now that we've kind of tested and pivoted, and this is the joy of it, mate. Love that, but we've realized that, you know, social media is for social media, and I know you chunk all your time and do that, and you do like a whole month in one go, yeah? You're a machine.
Yep.
The fucking machine.
We're doing that today.
I love that.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, so we're the same. Long form is just for the long term form now, and then we do, you know, socials is something separate, but the end of your game plan, if they get a sus, it's worth a look right now.
Is there anywhere that you guys want people to go check your stuff out? Where can they find you?
Just Instagram would be where we're at for the most part.
Instagram distributes everything, takes them anywhere else if they want to go.
Yeah.
Do you have any assets that we can send people to go look at?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. YouTube, there's a ton of stuff on there. There's some trainings that we've done. Got a blueprint that basically lays out everything that you need to grow a business to 3K a week online.
Nice.
We've also got a toolkit called the Leads in 24 Hours toolkit. This is basically just like a quick cash lead gen thing that works really well.
The magic of offers, hey?
Links are on Instagram.
I'll grab all the links for you. I'll chuck them down into the bio below.
Cool.
Wicked.
It's been fun.
Thanks for coming on.
Great fun.
Glad to get you back into it, mate.
Pleasure. Cheers.
Ciao.